Welcome everyone to the July 26, 2021 Port Commission meeting. The Port of Olympia is working diligently to address the threat posed by COVID-19 to Thurston County, state of Washington, and the United States. On March 16, 2020, the Commission adopted Resolution 2020-03, authorizing certain emergency powers in light of the COVID-19 outbreak, including invoking applicable emergency exemptions to meeting notice requirements and location restrictions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Pursuant to that resolution, the Port of Olympia is conducting today's meeting remotely. The Port is following the guidance from Thurston County Health Department, take all efforts to prevent the spread of this virus, and is acting in the interest of the safety and welfare of the public, the community, and our employees to limit its spread. So with that, I'd like to ask Commissioner McGregor. No, I take that back. How about Executive Director Gibney? Could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sam. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
I have a change to the agenda, if I might.
Go ahead, Commissioner McGregor.
Item 2 on our action calendar is a resolution for a 5-member commission. And subsequent to this on the agenda, we had a meeting with Thurston County commissioners, and I thought it was a very good meeting. I think we learned a lot more details on what needs to happen to promote this, not only at the port level, but in the Thurston County Commission as well. And I think the outcome of that meeting was that the 2 staffs were going to work on a resolution of intent so that we could work together. And so I would like to have that removed from the agenda because I don't think there's any action to be taken on that at this point.
Well, I'm going to suggest, Commissioner McGregor, that you're suggesting a motion to table agenda item number 2 on tonight's agenda. Is that true?
That's correct.
And is there a second? I'll second that for purposes of discussion. I'd just like to agree with Commissioner McGregor. We did have a great meeting with the county. It's very productive, and it was really a case of collaboration, meaning both sides did their homework and came to a mutually acceptable conclusion that there's a way to put this on the ballot in front of the voters at the same time, namely November of 2022. And with that, I believe we don't have to, it would not be in our best interest to take action on item 2 of the action calendar. And so that's why I'm seconding the motion to table. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of tabling resolution 2021-05 5-member commission, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, please say nay.
I think Commissioner Zeta might have dropped off. I see she's trying to get back on now.
I don't think you heard me second the motion earlier. Is that right, Commissioner Downing?
I did not, Commissioner Zeta, but thank you for doing that. So
I heard you start to make some comments about the good meeting we had with the commission, and then my connection was reset. I'm not sure what you said after that. I would like to reiterate my support for Commissioner McGregor's motion to table agenda item 2 on our action calendar. And I want to thank the county commission and the county auditor and the county's executive director for their thoughtful presentations and comments at the meeting. It sounds like we have provisionally agreed to slow down the process and cooperate with the county, which is great news.
Thank you, Commissioner Zeta. I think my exact words were collaboration. And so both sides collaborated with each other to a mutually acceptable outcome. So at that point, given the fact that we have a motion and a second to table, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, we're going to table item 2. And now I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, we have an agenda. Thank you, commissioners. Next, we have the executive director report. And I'll turn it over to you, Sam.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Oh, I need to change my screen. One moment. Okay, if you can go to, never mind, you're at the next slide. On July 19th, I was interviewed as part of an upcoming video series on the issue of sea level rise and plans for implementation of the sea level rise response plan. This video series is being developed in collaboration with the staff from City of Olympia, Lot Clean Water Alliance, and the Port of Olympia. Next slide. New light bollards were installed along the North Point Trail. Thank you to our facilities maintenance team members, Damian, Larry, and Ian. Next slide. Members of the Port of Olympia Commission and staff attended the Economic Development Council's Hootenanny on July 22nd. We didn't have any fun at all, and it was pretty boring, but otherwise it was a great time getting together with our colleagues and celebrating the really courageous effort that the EDC has put in for the last 18 months. They've really been a community leader. And I was joking about the part we didn't have any fun. Right. On Thursday, July 22nd, First Lieutenant Ben Herbert landed an Apache helicopter from Joint Base Lewis McChord at our Olympia Regional Airport. This landing took place in order to give Boy Scout Troop 9250 a lesson on flight, which was a pretty special and unique lesson. Both First Lieutenant Herbert and Scout Leader Troy Smith live in Thurston County. Scout Leader Smith happens to be Lynn Fosher's director, so he stopped by to grab some photos. As always, thank you for your service. Next slide.
Oh, a question, Sam. What was the connection with Lynn? I missed that.
He is the neighbor of the lieutenant. And so
I see.
Lynn happened to be in the area, knew he was going to be there, so stopped by to snap a picture. Okay. Our summer nautical newsletter is out. You can find the newsletter at swantownmarina.com. Next slide. We are seeking feedback via a survey at our Swantown Marine Fielding Station to constantly improve and provide our customers with the best possible service. The survey closes on September 10th at 11:59 p.m. We appreciate your feedback, and you can find the survey link at swantownmarina.com. Next slide. I'm very pleased to announce the return of our Movies at the Marina summer events. 3 Saturday events will take place in August. July 31st, August 14th, and August 21st at the Port of Olympia's North Point. This year, we are changing things up a bit and have added a few more festivities before the movie starts. The events begin at 4 p.m. and will include live music, local food trucks, a beer garden with all proceeds going to support the For the Love Foundation, as well as some sidewalk chalk art and cornhole for the kids and the kids at heart. Movies will begin at 30 minutes after sunset each night. For the Love Foundation is a local nonprofit who supports the various needs of the communities from foster kids supporting foster kids during the holidays, providing coats for kids, providing foods for family and needs, and much, much more. The July 31st event features country singer Ricky Hendricks and the summer favorite, the movie The Sandlot. We hope to see you there. It's going to be lots of fun. Next slide. The Port is pleased to sponsor the Olympia Downtown Alliance's Love Oly Summerfest. Summerfest is a street festival taking place every Saturday through August in downtown Olympia. Events run from noon to 6 p.m. The port is also pleased to sponsor the Olympia Brewfest. The Olympia Brewfest is taking place on Saturday, August 7th, and the event will run from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. You can purchase your tickets online at olybrewfest.com. Next slide. I'd like to take a minute to brag on our Senior Manager of Facilities Maintenance, Ms. Alicia Alvarez. Earlier this month, Alicia completed the San Juan Hut to Hut ride. The ride is 250 miles long in the backcountry on ungraded roads and trails from Telluride, Colorado to Moab, Utah. Way to go, Alicia.
Wow.
We're proud to have you on our port team. Next slide. As the commission certainly is aware, the draft environmental impacts statement for the Capitol Lake Deschutes Estuary Long-Term Management Plan is now available. You can visit Capitol Lake Estuary EIS.org and submit your comments by August 13th, 2021. And you can find a link to this on the port's website on the front page. Next slide. And as always, we have several ways for you to make contact with us. Here's some easy ways to get in touch, give us feedback, or request a conversation.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for that report. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Next on our agenda is the litigation report with our own Lavisha Brown. Commissioner Zita, did you have a question or comment?
I just
Sorry.
wanted to add something to the executive director's report on the Capitol Lake Deschutes Estuary process. There is, what do they call it? Not a public hearing. There's a public hearing on this tomorrow night from 6:30 to 8:30. You can come and get more information and ask questions. It's online. So just want to let people know, tomorrow night, just Google Capitol Lake and you will find it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Turn it over to Valicia for litigation report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Tonight, we're actually going to discuss an update regarding agency litigation in our executive session following this regular meeting.
Good. Thank you, Valicia.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to turn to public comment, and I'm going to turn to Tracy and say, do anybody sign up for public comment in advance of the meeting?
Nobody signed up.
Great. Okay. And I see we have 11 attendees from the public. Would anybody like to give public comment of a general nature on any issue facing the port? Anybody like to give public comment at this time? I can just say your name and I'll recognize you. Okay. Seeing no public comment, we'll move on with our agenda. And next is the consent calendar. And tonight we have bills and vouchers for the month of June. Batches 22 through 25.5 in the amount of $660,332.73. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Thank you, commissioners, to approve the consent calendar. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Consent calendar is approved. Next, we move to the action calendar, and we have one item which is called Resolution 2021-04, the Juneteenth holiday. And our own Jerry Sevier, Port Administrative Services Director, is presenting.
Thank you, Commissioner Downing. Good evening. My name is Jerry Sevier, the Administrative Services Director, here tonight to talk to you about Policy 312, which would be adopting Juneteenth as a port holiday. Next slide, please. A little bit of background on this. I have brought this to a couple other commission meetings, but wanted to, for those that are just tuning in for the first time, We have a policy 312, which has all of our holidays listed, and it states our legal holidays that we observe at the Port of Olympia. They just happen to be the same as the RCW observed by the state of Washington. However, this past legislative session, Governor Jay Inslee declared Juneteenth as a paid holiday. Before it was a recognized holiday, but not paid. And that was signing House Bill 1016 into law, making June 19th a paid holiday for state workers effective next year. Next slide, please. A little bit about Juneteenth. It's also known as Emancipation Day and Freedom Day, and it marks the day when the Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas in 1865 and informed the last enslaved African Americans that they were free. Juneteenth is a holiday that celebrates the emancipation of those who had been enslaved in the United States. And Washington is one of 47 states that recognize Juneteenth as a holiday. However, I mentioned previously, it was not a paid day off. Texas was the first state to recognize it officially in 1980, and Washington State did so in 2007. Next slide, please. So the policy change and impacts is now, the RCW now includes Juneteenth as a paid holiday starting in 2022. But our port policy doesn't reference that. So, and we don't do that on purpose because there are other implications for providing additional paid holidays through that RCW. And we have kind of a different leave system than the rest of the state built in. So we would need to actually add that to our policy to make it effective. Next slide, please. So staff is recommending that the commission formally adopt Juneteenth as a port holiday, paid holiday, to celebrate the resiliency and spirit of Black Americans alongside a persistent hope for a more equitable future. Staff has presented to the commission at a work session and again at the July 12th meeting as an advisory. So tonight would be the opportunity for the commission, if desired, to take action. As you know, for the commission to change policy, we do that by adopting a resolution. And so included in the packet was a draft resolution 2104, which would add Juneteenth as a paid holiday. Next slide, please. Here's a sample motion that approves that resolution, and that is number policy 312, but it's number 30 in the resolution, and it would adopt this as a paid holiday effective 2022. And I am available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jerry. Commissioners, any follow-up questions of Jerry at this time?
I have none. I'm ready to move forward on this if the commission is ready to move forward.
Brief discussion, please.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Brief discussion, please.
Okay, go ahead and make a motion, Commissioner McGregor, and we'll see if it's seconded, then we'll have a discussion between the commissioners.
Second the
Okay.
motion.
I got to make the motion first.
Move to approve Juneteenth.
Commissioner McGregor, would you like to read that? Can you put that back up on the screen, Jerry, so we can get the verbiage correct? And I believe Commissioner Commissioner McGregor was ready to make the motion. So let's, if you don't mind, let's let him make the motion and then you can second. That'd be great.
So I move to approve resolution 2021-04 to include Juneteenth, June 19th as a port paid holiday effective in 2022, thereby revising port policy 312, item number 30 in the resolution, superseding resolution 2020-09.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
So it's been moved and seconded, and Commissioner Zita would like to have additional discussion. Please lead off, Commissioner Zita.
Yeah, I want to thank staff for bringing this to us. We know that Abe Lincoln made the Emancipation Proclamation in 1862, freeing the slaves in the United States after centuries of enslavement. And emancipation went into effect in January of 1863, but enslaved people in Texas didn't find out they were free for more than 2 years on Juneteenth, 1865. And people of color in the US have yet to experience full freedom in our country. So recognizing Juneteenth as a holiday here is a small gesture toward our commitment to work for full equality for people of color in the US, especially Black people.
Thank you, Commissioner Zita. Commissioner McGregor, any other discussion?
Nope, I'm fully in support of amending our resolution to include this as a paid holiday for staff and recognizing Juneteenth, June 19th as the official holiday.
Good. And my only comment is, you know, I'd like to echo that the general sentiment of Commissioner Zita. This is more historic than we perhaps understand right now. It's just totally a turning point, and the ability to recognize our past and in some small, tiny way, make amends for that past, you know, is a big deal. So we're excited. I mean, I personally am excited to be here at this moment with you two and with staff moving this forward. So we have a motion and a second to accept Juneteenth as a, just a second. I'm trying to keep up on my computer here.
While you're looking for that, Commissioner McGregor, we have a long way to go with African Americans and other people of color and with our tribal neighbors.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2021-04 to include Juneteenth, June 19th, as a port paid holiday effective 2022, thereby revising Port Policy 312, number 30 in the resolution, superseding Resolution 2020-09. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you, Jerry, for that presentation.
Thank you.
And now, at this point in our meeting, we don't have any action other calendar items. We do not have an advisory calendar tonight. Therefore, no additional public comment required. And we're now turned to commission reports and discussion. Commissioners, do you have anything to discuss?
Well, I'll go first since I'm unmuted. Just want to report that on the 21st, Thurston Chamber had an event at the called the Olympia Hotel, now was formerly the Red Lion, and it had to do with Thurston Strong and a report on that and how it impacted the community and some of the things that we're seeing as we climb out of this pandemic. And that was very informational, well attended, and looking forward to further meetings in person with the chamber as we move along. Then right after that, I went to the Hootenanny at the EDC replaced as their gala for this year. Got people outside. It was from 3 till 6, and a lot of fun activities, a dunk tank and a couple of saddles there for you to try to get on, and then the riding bull, as well as a beer garden. But I think the riding bull was the most noticeable one for our staff. Alicia tried it and Danny tried it, but I'm proud to report that our executive director rode that beast for 28 seconds. So my hat's off to her. That's what I heard. Now what? 23, 13? I don't know. It was longer than I could ever stay on it. That's
30.
all I know.
That would be 30. That would be the record-setting 30-second ride.
Well, Guinness reported 28, so that's what I'm going to report here. And then on the 22nd, the joint Thurston Port meeting, which was very productive, as we've already talked a little bit about tonight. So looking forward to getting back together and moving this resolution of intent along, which was what we talked about. So excited about that happening. So that's the extent of my report.
Thanks, Commissioner. How about you, Commissioner Zita? Anything to report?
Yeah, I'll follow up on Commissioner McGregor's mention of the meeting with the Thurston County Commissioners. The county commissioners restated there's suggestion that we slow down Commissioner Downing's proposal to have a ballot measure this year on 5 districts for the county. And the Executive Director Ramiro Chavez and Auditor Mary Hall weighed in with some very thoughtful comments, and Senator Sam Hunt made a very clear and I think effective plea that we should let the county take the lead, because if the port did not do a good job, and we are not as well positioned to do a good job on a ballot initiative, it could make it difficult for the county to take this important step, which we all agree we should be moving toward. When we have 300,000 people in Thurston County, we'll be having 5 districts, and all 6 of us commissioners, 3 port and 3 county, agree this is a good idea. And we should collaborate on this as far as possible and do the ballot initiative next year. The other report I have is Thurston Regional Planning Council has spent many hours in retreat. Today was our part 2 of the retreat. We spent much of today meeting, discussing our mission, vision, and values. Very productive. We got to meet in person, which was terrific to see everybody at TRPC. And one of the overarching themes that people are committed to is including diversity, equity, and inclusion in a meaningful way in our regional planning processes. And one of the meaningful ways we can do that, of course, TRPC excels at gathering data about our region, doing analysis with the data, and figuring out how does that inform the projects and the planning we should do. There are a lot of factors that go into those analyses, and we need to figure out how to prioritize information about diversity, equity, and inclusion as one of the values that drives our planning. Another important suggestion that came out of that meeting is to expand our membership to more youth, to possibly a public health officer, to an expert on climate change, because these are rapidly emerging important issues that Puget Sound Regional Council has experts on, and we could benefit from having those experts.
Thank you, Commissioner Zeta, and thank you, Commissioner McGregor, for your reports. The only thing I have to report is I did sit down with Ken Balsley, a radio host, last Thursday, and took a half-an-hour interview with him talking about the 5-person commission. And that was broadcast Sunday morning, and it's also on his blog if anybody would like to listen to it. But I went into perhaps great detail about my personal issues for reasons, which are all of which I've stated in our 2 or 3 meetings. We've talked about this, bringing forward the idea of a 5-person commission. I mean, as I mentioned to him, universally supported by all folks. And it's rare that you have an issue that's universally supported. So I hope at the end of the day, when the voters approve this and the port and the county go to 5-person boards, that we can remember this as a significant turning point in the history of our county and port, that for the better. So I look forward to that. That's all I had in my most significant event of the past 2 weeks. I just wanted to report that back to you. Next, we go to other business. And do we have any topics of other business, commissioners?
I do not.
I do. Commissioner Downing, you referenced the development agreement, interlocal agreement regarding Panettone, that in your April letter to the editor. And I have port staff agreed to provide those documents to me on the 12th of July. And now port staff are saying that I may not have those documents. I'm very concerned that these documents are not being made available to all port commissioners, and they should be.
Well, thanks, Commissioner Zeta. I have talked about that with our executive director. I think I saw or heard of your request. I didn't see it, but it's not my email. But I did hear of your request. And, you know, once again, in prior meetings, I think Commissioner McGregor and I stated that there is no current ILA. It's in draft form, and there's a special word for it when it's not actually, it's not even a draft. So in other words, it would be inappropriate for us to discuss potential agreements when staff is working on that and it's not been formulated yet. So I'm not sure there is a document to give you, but I do respect the fact that you have requested that. And I'll turn to our executive director. Did you have a comment, Sam?
I have a response to Commissioner Downing. You say it's inappropriate to discuss this document because it's in draft form, yet you did discuss it with the public without the commission's knowledge or approval in your April letter to the editor. Now, you have had access to these draft documents, and you have had public discussions about these documents and the process. All commissioners should have access.
Commissioner Downing, I'd like to call point of order.
I asked not to be interrupted.
Point of order. That's the chair's prerogative.
Sorry, Commissioner Zeta, point of order. A member of this meeting, including the executive director, who's a member of this meeting, has called for a point of order. State your point, please.
My point is that.
No, not your point, Commissioner Zeta. Commissioner Executive Director Gibney, please state your point.
My point is, I believe that we are in territory now that is more suitable for executive session. And so if the commission would like to have further discussion, I suggest that we either add that to our topics to discuss tonight or schedule a separate executive session where we can fully brief the commission on this. But I believe that we are in that territory. I believe it's inappropriate to continue this discussion in an open session.
I ask for our attorney's perspective, and I ask not to be interrupted.
Well, per Robert's rules, the chair rules on a point of order, and I'm going to actually say I'm not accepting your point of order, Sam. Commissioner Zeta has said that I've seen a draft agreement. I have not. We remind Commissioner Zeta, for about the fourth or fifth time, that there was a letter from Executive Director Gibney to City Manager John Doan and stated 4 or 5 points that the port was willing to, include within our agreement. And that is the source information for whatever editorial I may have written months ago. So, that's it. With that, so I have an issue not related to that, but rather to the EIS response. And as you know, fellow commissioners, that as the chair, I meet with Sam quite often about upcoming meetings and upcoming events. And as you know, we have a public comment period, which expires, I believe, August 13th or 15th. And I'm interested in formulating port comments to the draft EIS. And Executive Director Gibney said that, we can take the comments from the 3 commissioners and put that in the form of a letter. The letter would come back to the commission for approval, and I would sign it as the chair of the Port Commission. So with that framework, I'd like to ask you to send your comments about the EIS to the executive director so that we can then see and approve a letter, which might have to happen at the August 9th meeting. Stam, you had a comment?
Yes, staff was planning on preparing a review based upon our interest and stakeholder position, as well as the regulatory framework. We're not providing comment on the technical modeling or water quality data. We believe that that has been peer reviewed and is adequate. I'm very concerned about the timeline for integrating comments from commissioners. We were planning on preparing a staff letter based upon that review. So we'll definitely need to talk about that is coming up very quickly. And indeed, if we were to take action at the commission level for approval, it would be at the August 9th meeting, which means we need to have everything collated in our letter done by the 3rd, and that is going to be a very, very tough timeline for us to accomplish. So indeed, that letter may need to come. Our letter may need to be go into a revised packet later that week, because we're working on an extremely tight timeline here.
So my suggestion, Sam, thank you, Sam, for that clarification. And so commissioners, we have this draft EIS before us, and as Sam said, there's not enough time or interest, or, you know, perhaps we totally accept the technical analysis, but, you know, if there's anything in there that you feel could be improved upon in some way, that the executive director would welcome your comments, like by the end of this week, so that could be perhaps incorporated in the letter. And the executive director and I were not 100% on the same page. You know, she perhaps thinks this letter can come from staff without coming before the commission, but I said, I think that it would have a little bit more, you know, I think it would be best if the commission president would sign it, but with the approval of my fellow commissioners. So, you know, that the letter, we don't formulate the letter, staff formulates the letter, we give input, we see the finished letter, we approve it, it gets sent off, and we're done, you know, and we wait another year as well. Of course, we can give personal comment at some of these public meetings that DES is scheduling. Commissioner McGregor.
Thank you. I kind of changed my mind a little bit on this, but I think it's important that as the 3 commissioners, we do send a letter off with our concerns. Otherwise, we're all 3 putting in our concerns in a different venue. And I think that tends to send a different perspective to each one of us has our own on this EIS. And so I think it's better that we send it as a joint letter with the commission to approve it. And I don't have a problem with the chair signing that once we've had a chance to discuss that. But I think it's important that if we have issues or questions or concerns on the EIS, that we be allowed to put those or forward those to staff so they can be included in the letter, so that we've had a voice in this as well. I think it's important that we represent that the commission has these concerns, and I have a couple. So thank you.
So we have 3 different suggestions on the table. Our executive director has suggested that staff draft a letter. Our chair has suggested that we approve staff's letter and make personal comments if we have any on the EIS. And Commissioner McGregor has suggested that all commissioners agree on a letter that the staff drafts, perhaps with some commissioner comments in it. So these are 3 different perspectives. So we are on the record as individual commissioners as having quite different perspectives on the different alternatives. We are also on the record as commissioners as having very different levels of understanding of the work that's being done on the Capitol Lake Deschutes Estuary EIS process. And now we are also articulating different visions of what this letter should look like. Should it be mostly the staff perspective? Should it be include the commissioners' perspectives? So we have quite a variety of perspectives here.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Zita, I have a little bit different take on that. I think that Commissioner McGregor and myself are happy to send in our inputs and have those inputs incorporated in a letter. Commissioner McGregor feels like our personal statement should not be different dramatically from the expression of the port's interest. However, there's one commissioner here that's quite talkative on Facebook, and so a lot of different ideas are put forth that aren't necessarily port ideas, and so these commissioners are not here. There's no way to weigh our interest to control port commissioners' private lives. So therefore, I basically I'm offering the commissioners a chance to put in their input. Port staff is going to formulate a letter. That's not really a question mark, and it's going to come back to the commission hopefully on August 9th for our review, comment, and approval.
Well, Commissioner Downing, you have made it clear in your past statements that you support the lake alternative. I have made it clear in my past statements that I support the estuary alternative. And we have done this as individuals, not as port commissioners. So we have different perspectives.
Well, thank you. I'm flattered that you're following my personal life, Commissioner Zita. I don't recall ever speaking out publicly about, which alternative I prefer. So I'm not going to go into my personal statements. And I'm not going to go into your personal statements. So if there's nothing else let me get back to my agenda here.
Good.
Is there any other business, or Commissioner McGregor, you have a comment?
Well, I think we need to give staff direction. I don't want them to leave this meeting and being confused on, well, what did they say? What are we doing? So I think that as commissioners, we need to provide staff with our concerns on items. I'm not weighing in on any one alternative. I do have concerns with some of the alternatives, but in some of them, it's the same concern on all of them. So I would think that the port staff would need to hear from each commissioner on any concerns they have with the draft EIS and comments that they would like to see included. Then it be put together with the staff involvement and with the commissioners, bring it back for August 9th under action other, and bring back a letter that holds the opinion or the comments of each commissioner. And then if commissioners decide to do something outside of that, that's over and above. But I think we need to show a concerted effort by all three that we're eager to see the EIS move forward in whatever form or fashion, and taking our public comment parts of it or public concerns. But these are all have to do with the document itself. And so I will send off that information to staff, and then I am fine with the chair signing that once we've approved it at the August 13th meeting.
Commissioner McGregor is completely correct that this part of the study is not for choosing an alternative. What DES needs from us is they need to know if there's anything they're missing, if there's any new, especially if there's any new information that they need to consider that might not have been included in their pretty exhaustive draft EIS. So if we are familiar with what's in the draft EIS, and we know that there is some information that's missing that can better inform the final EIS, that is what they're really interested in getting from us.
Thank you, commissioners, for your clarifications. Sam, do you feel like you've got a sense of what the commission is interested in, desires in this area?
You're muted.
I believe what I've heard is that staff will prepare a letter that commissioners will send in any of their observations or comments, that we will somehow compile those and bring a draft letter to the August 9th meeting, which is the last meeting that where the commission could take action before the due date of August 13th. And with that, I do need to state that we have met every deadline for our packets for the last couple of years. Sometimes there are revisions to the packets. I do not believe that I can meet the deadline for this packet, which would be on August 3rd for that August 9th meeting. So if it indeed, if I did get that correct, I will commit to having a draft out to the commission and have the packet revised by the Friday before that meeting. That would be Friday, August 6th. That is past our normal packet date, but I don't see any way of accomplishing this work before then. So if that is amenable to the commission, then we can proceed that way, and we'll get that letter done and out to you on the 6th.
I would concur with that. I'd also concur or suggest that the commissioners get their comments to you by this Friday,
Thank you.
so that you can be incorporated into that, and then comments come in after that, then they won't be included in the meeting. But I think we need to meet that deadline so staff can incorporate. And some of our comments may be the same as what staff is bringing up, who knows, but that's my suggestion.
Good. I can abide by that, and I can also abide by, I think it was Commissioner Zeta said, we're not going to, this is not a letter to say this is the preferred alternative, but rather, certain parts of the EIS that we would like to comment on, and let DES do their work over the next year and take our comments as well as other agencies and citizen comment and make the necessary revisions.
That's great. So to that end, fellow commissioners, I just want to remind you that the best way to come up to speed on what's in the draft EIS is to read the executive summary, chapter 4 and chapter 7.
Already done. Thank you, Commissioner Zeta.
Yep, got it done.
Good. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we're on to meeting announcements. Thank you. And so upcoming meetings, we have a regularly scheduled August 2nd work session that's coming up next Monday. August 9th, we have a commission meeting at 5:30 p.m. and August 23rd, another commission meeting. I'm looking at this schedule and I do not see, are we skipping a work session?
That is correct. So we are canceling the August 16th work session, and
is that in memory of in honor of my birthday?
I think so, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So a little bit of levity there. So thank you. So these are our 3 meetings coming up, and I'd like the public to know that we're going to go into executive session to discuss potential litigation, as our in-house attorney Valicia pointed out. And so we're going to adjourn and go to apparently a different link to get into that meeting. So do I have Commissioner McGregor. Sorry, you're muted. Sorry.
Thank you. I have a technical question for our attorney, Valicia. Since the executive session was noted as part of our agenda and is included as part of the agenda, I think the appropriate thing, and if I'm wrong, I'll abide by her decision, but I think we need to recess until 7:30 and reconvene into executive session to discuss a litigation matter. I think there needs to be a formal process because this was not published as a separate meeting at 7:30, and I just don't know the legality of it, but that's my question. In my experience, it's always been you recess into an executive session if it's part of your agenda. So I just throw that out.
So I think the intention here was to give us the normal amount of time that we have for our regular meetings, which was the 5:30 to 7:30, and then recess into the executive session. And so it does present on the posting as two separate meetings. That was not the intention of the way it was posted. We were just following the standard times. Our outside counsel will be joining us for the executive session. Given the light agenda for the evening, we actually asked them to be ready at 6:30. And so we would be rolling into the executive session as you normally would, as you described, Commissioner McGregor. There is a technical aspect of, we posted that the executive session would be at 7:30. And so that is something that I will say the guidance is fairly light on. I would think that if we were having this meeting in person, we would announce to the people who were present at the meeting. So the people on the Zoom, that we've concluded our regular agenda business and we'll be moving into executive session. And so for the practical application, I would recommend that we would do it just as though we were in person.
Okay, so you're muted, Commissioner Downing.
Thanks, Felicia. To summarize, we're going into executive session at 6:30 p.m. today.
Yep.
7 minutes from now or so.
It's 7:30 is what it's posted.
So it's posted for 7:30, but what I'm
Correct.
saying is that that was not intended to be a separate meeting. That was intended to reflect that this regular meeting was going to have a special session, which was executive session. And so the inference that there is a different meeting as opposed to the executive session was part of the regular meeting, that was not intentional, nor is that how the RCW is written. The executive sessions are part of a regular meeting. And so that was just simply to convey, we basically stuck to the normal 2 hours we have for regular meetings when we amended the agenda.
Right. So what I'm saying is, though, this was, it is posted at 7:30. I just want to make sure we don't have somebody coming back to us and saying, you guys went into executive session an hour early and you shouldn't have done that, blah, 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 because that's what's happened in the past. So I'm just trying to make sure that it's clear that if we're going to do that, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make sure we're all above board.
Yeah, my advice is that we roll into the executive session portion, given that the regular business agenda items have been completed. But there is a concern that somebody's going to say, but you posted for these 2 hours and you had an exact start time of your executive session at 7:30.
Correct.
Yeah, that is a concern that is possible. My advice is that we apply the practical way to follow the RCW and have a executive session that is actually part of your regular meeting, which at this case would be starting probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Having no other business tonight, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, we have to recess. We're going to recess into executive session, Commissioner, sorry. But technically, that's what we're doing. And then we'll come back in after that, expected to last 30 minutes, and then come back in and officially adjourn.
Correct.
So can we please be clear to our audience about when we're going into executive session and when we expect to come back?
And so commissioners, you'll see on the top of the revised agenda, right before it says A, call to order, special meeting / executive session. The commission will have an executive session, this says at 7:30, to discuss a litigation update in accordance with RCW chapter 42, section 30-110I. The executive session is expected to last approximately 30 minutes. And so aligned with what Commissioner Zita just recommended, Commissioner Downing, as the chair, if you were to read that statement but adjust it for the time that will actually be starting, that would follow the RCW's expectation of adjourning a regular meeting to move into executive session.
Thank you, Felicia. The commission is now going to have an executive session starting at 6:30 p.m., approximately 5 minutes from now, to discuss a litigation update in accordance with RCW 42.30.110I, and the executive session is expected to last approximately 30 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we are adjourned. Or
Recessed.
we're gonna go into executive session. Thank you.